Speaking of essential workers, are the kind of people that delivered, like the nurses and those kind of people that were labeled as essential workers that were delivering the bioweapon into people, school administrators, school nurses, all these different people in these different sectors that were promoting and delivering basically a murder weapon onto the population. So, speaking of that concept, we saw like that illustrated in the last episode of the Sandman.
Mm-hmm. Now it's the second to the last in the season, but it was the last one that we watched.
Right.
Yeah.
We saw that illustrated in the
episode, I think 10.
Yeah, it's the last episode that we watched.
Right.
So what it was is that basically just the Sandman is about Lord Morpheus, who is the king of dreams. So they call him Morpheus or Lord Morpheus.
Or just dream.
So he's the king of dreams. And the king of dreams has his entourage. And so some of the king of dreams entourage includes nightmares. They also include good dreams. Mm-hmm. And there was one particular nightmare that he made that was supposed to reflect the dark aspect of human nature. Mm-hmm. And he called this nightmare Corinthian.
I don't usually speak in public, but the opportunity to talk to so many people who share the same passion, the same dream, was just too good to pass up. Because you were special people. Very special people. We are the American dreamers, driving down the holy road of true knowledge that's paved with blood and gold. And across the length and breadth of this fair country, we are killing people. We don't do it to make a living. We don't do it for revenge. We do not murder for profit. We kill to kill. We are entrepreneurs in an expanding field. But no one sees us, except for one weekend a year. Well, I see you. I see you for who you truly are. And I want you to see it too. So, just do me a favor. Just close your eyes. And see yourselves as I do. We are gladiators, conquerors. We are explorers. And truth seekers. We are swashbucklers. We are hunters. Soldiers of fortune.
Corinthian was supposed to allow people to see the dark parts of themselves so that they could
reflect on
it and learn from it. Right. What happened was this particular nightmare called Corinthian
went rogue.
Yeah. And he went off and he created basically a cadre of serial killers. Mm-hmm. Correct?
Well, he influenced generations, multiple generations, because he was active in the waking world, as they call it,
right,
for like over 100 years.
Right.
And he was basically
like an actual person.
Right, as an actual person, and conducting what is now known as a serial killer, right?
Right.
And so fast forward to another part of this episode where there is a a convention at a hotel,
Right.
and it's like any normal like not a convention, a conference,
Right.
And they called it the cereal conference, but they spelled it like the breakfast cereal,
Right. So I actually think it was called a cereal convention, or was it
No, the cereal conference.
Okay. So all these people, were
They're serial killers.
They're serial
They call
killers.
themselves collectors,
collectors, right?
right? And they all say that the Corinthian was an
Their
inspiration,
inspiration.
right? And what
Right.
kind of like got them going,
Right.
So Morpheus, this is why Morpheus was able to say to the Corinthian, you inspired all this. This is your fault.
Right.
Yeah,
So
so go on.
there is another character that was walking through the convention who was not a serial killer,
Mm-hmm.
and he was going into how like when you go to conventions or conferences,
Yeah, conferences.
they dedicate certain rooms to certain themes,
Right, for breakout meetings.
So all of these breakout meetings were taking place in this particular hotel. And so he was wandering in and out of each breakout meeting, each individual conference. And each individual meeting or conference represented something that we are going through currently in our cultural shift
Landscape,
in
yeah.
the cultural landscape. So you had, women saying we need to be, better recognized in our role,
In our work, yeah.
in our work. And then you had another breakout meeting where it was a bunch of religious leaders saying we need to bring religion into our roles. This
Yeah.
is what we do. And then we had somebody else saying that, there was a racial issue and this
Right.
and that and the
Right,
other.
and then there was a
So-
more nuts and bolts, sort of like working class kind
working class. So so this character is wandering in and out of these meetings and he's listening to what they're saying. And it's exactly the kind of language that we're being told is happening as well. It's
Right.
being filtered
Well,
at us
and they
in
were-
the media.
So the interesting thing is, as he's going into these meetings, he thinks that it's just normal, like work-related kind of talk, like conversations. Like these are issues that everybody has in the workplace, right?
Right.
And it doesn't dawn on him until he gets into a few meetings where a few key words are being dropped, and he realizes that something's not quite right. And it isn't until he sees the Corinthian
Right.
that he realizes what is going on, and these people are murderers.
Right.
It took him a while, but he figured it out, and then he split to go tell Morpheus about it.
Right. To go say to, hello, Dream Lord, this wayward rogue nightmare of yours has made himself into human form and has influenced all these humans to be all of these things.
Right.
So I guess what I was trying to say is I was equating that with the humans in their particular roles in this country, whether
Right.
they are school administrators or nurses or, middle managers at companies, grocery, whatever. They were all represented in this particular episode, in this theme. And so at the end of the day, and at the end of the episode, they all they had their sort of come to Jesus moment.
Yeah.
Where, so Lord Morpheus comes into the hotel and into the conference, and first of all he addresses the Corinthian, and the Corinthian to me represented Pfizer, represented the state, represented the wayward rogue bad actors that are funded by the state or funded by corporations to
Right.
tell all of these underlings what to do to commit
Right.
murder. So he addresses him and says, I'm taking all of your power away from you. You are back to nothing. And now what I'm going to do is turn around and force all of these people to look inside of themselves. And they all realize, and it's pretty deplorable, it's pretty
Yeah.
dark where they go. They all realize what horrible people they are. And so you see them killing themselves, admitting to calling 911 and admitting to crimes, just this overflow
Right.
of guilt.
Right.
And so I feel that what's going to happen in the future, hopefully soon, is all of that is going to come as a rush into all of these people that have deployed a toxin onto the population, because the people in
the breakout meetings,
they were saying, we don't do it for money, we don't do it for fame, we do it because it's who we are,
and it's our
and
job.
It's our job to do it.
Yeah.
And so that's what your nurses are saying. That's what your
pharmacists are
saying.
Your
Your teachers. They're all saying, we're not getting paid extra for this. And you know what? They may not be personally. And we're not doing it because we want to be popular. We're doing it because it's our job. And it's what we were born to do.
Right. So you have these psychopathic murderers saying, this is our job. This is what, and the one guy even said, I do it because God wants me to.
Right. Exactly. So it's this really twisted.
So and if you extend God to being like the corporation, right, and
exactly.
And I thought it was interesting that Morpheus basically, he's because the dream, the use of the word dream in this program or in this storyline, it's not just the dreams you have at night when you sleep, but it's also, he also talks about the dream that you have of who you think you should be or what you'd like to be. Your aspiration, right? Aspirational dreams. And
which are changing all the time. In human nature.
He points to this part of them, right? Your dream to be a murderer, your aspiration to be, a serial killer and kill multiple people for the jollies or whatever it is you're doing it for.
Or because you think it's what you are.
It's because and
what you were born to do.
This is now, I'm taking this away from you.
Right.
Because I'm the king of dreams. I can take these things away from you. And now you have to reflect on the people that you've murdered and the crimes that you've committed and the pain you've caused to everybody in the world around those people that you murdered.
Exactly.
And that's why and then you see them all like running out of the conference center or the conference room in the hotel. One guy goes into his car, reaches into the glove box and shoots himself. And like you said, another woman called 911 and said, "I want to."
Admitted to her crime.
And they're all like scattering to the winds, right? And so it's really interesting. I think that you pointed that out to me, and I was like, "Wow, that's pretty amazing." I think that this is the reckoning that we all would like to see. Whether it happens or not, I don't know. But it's interesting how it was positioned. Mm-hmm. And how the they reflected all these work roles and all these roles in society,
right?
And that they're both murderer and healthcare worker and teacher and engineer and whatever it is. There was one woman who was a doctor and she would harvest organs.
Right.
She
would capture people, put them under, and harvest their organs. Yeah.
And kill them that way.
Right.
And it was just so all this deplorable behavior, and but you see this duplicity or this duality, I guess is a better word, within these people, right? On one hand, they're average citizens, and on the other hand, they're murderous psychopaths.
Right. They're serial killers. Mm-hmm. Right. As far as the reckoning in our current paradigm, in our current story that we're all living in, because it is a big story. I mean, I'm not saying that it's fiction or fake. I'm saying that, we're living through this, and, the history books will write it down, hopefully.
If they're not changed.
And it will be co-opted and changed and bastardized and corrupted, of course, like history always is. But, everybody is hoping for that reckoning. But I think I'm hoping that people are starting to realize that the reckoning isn't going to come with Fauci being dragged into, in front of a judge, then the reckoning isn't going to be Bourla, the CEO the current CEO of Pfizer being dragged into the into
jailed or whatever.
The reckoning is going to come from all the people that administered the propaganda or the toxin itself.
Right.
That's where the reckoning is going to come. And it's not going to come like in the way that it was illustrated in the show. it's going to be an internal battle that these people will be forced to face the darkness inside of them. Some people don't know how to do that. They don't know how to do shadow work. They don't know how to face that darkness. And so they will go along in this sort of superficial, like, living this kind of above the darkness kind of thing, where they're just really shallow people and there's not a lot to them. Some people, the darkness will swallow them and they won't know how to handle it, so they'll either drink themselves to death, or they'll commit suicide, or they'll start beating their wife, or they'll start, acting like jerks. Each person deals with that dark truth about them in a different way. So I think what we're going to see I guess what I'm trying to say with all this is what we're going to see as a result of the delivering of either the propaganda and promotion of the toxin, or the delivering of the toxin itself. What we're going to see is even more mental illness, even more emotional breakdowns, even more narcissistic behavior, even more psychotic and psychopathic behavior. In my opinion, when you walk around the world, and we walk around the world much more than we sit in front of the computer these days, we're out and about, I see goodness, but I also see an underlying lack of conscience. The conscience has been sort of like eroded and eradicated. It's still there.
Or consciousness.
No, I'm talking about a conscience.
Okay.
Like, consciousness is something
okay. All right.
esoteric
All
and
right.
different.
Yeah.
Like, I'm talking about an actual conscience.
Okay.
Like, good versus evil.
Right. Like
Do you
the,
know
the
what...
two little characters on your shoulder, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you know what bad is, and do
Right.
you know what good is? And I'm finding it harder and harder to see. It's more and more difficult for me to see people who know the difference between
Right.
bad and good.
Yeah.
And so when the bad eats away at your soul, and the truth comes that you are part of a destructive force on humanity, and that you've been participating in this destructive force, and you haven't been either fighting it or you haven't been doing things to try to remedy it, then you have to grapple with that, and you might just take your conscience and stamp it out and say, I cannot deal with the heaviness and the gravity of what I've done, so I have to stamp out my conscience, and then I'm free to just live my life, and not. But without a conscience,
Right.
then you are a destructive force.